Hey, we're back live, and today we're going to talk about a topic that, well, is near and dear to my heart, and that is trying to manage anxiety. Yes, we're going to talk about trying to manage anxiety. We're going to give you some thoughts on how we do it, why we do it, what we do, and we'd love to have your comments in the chat so we can see what you might do, because this is a big part of what we do in business and in life. All that and more on episode 875 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Bob. How are you today?
I am okay. How are you?
I am well. I'm a little tired, and I'm well.
I missed you the last couple of days.
I know. The recording thing's just not the same.
No, it's not. I feel like a big piece of my life. You know, I usually get to share the chaos of my life with you, and when I don't have those mornings to do it, it just feels like I'm talking to myself in the shower, which is just not the same.
Fair. It's different.
It's different and not nearly as valuable. You provide me with great insights. You keep me, you ground me, you do a lot of things that when I don't have them in my life, I see them missing.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we got to get rolling because this is a great topic. I know there's someone out there going, I can't wait to hear these bozos try to make sense of this one. Managing anxiety.
And do you tell a joke because you're anxious about it?
A little, yeah.
Funny how maybe one way that you try to manage it is through humor.
No. Get out of here. You're pissed off.
Just an observation. That's all. A little feedback.
You might be right.
I don't know if I'm right. It's what's real for me.
I think it's what's real for me, too.
Yeah, could be. I don't know. All right, everybody. We'll be right back. That's a little tease for our conversation coming up in just a few minutes. If you haven't figured it out, this is today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast. Yes, as Bob said, we are live. We had 2 days of recording when we are back. So please, as we go through our conversation today around anxiety and trying to manage it, please feel free to share your value, because it might have an impact on someone out there, and it'll definitely have an impact on our conversation in the show. So please feel free to share away. And at the conclusion of our conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you. You might be overwhelmed, you might be struggling with anxiety, you might be struggling with the anxiety of trying to manage the anxiety, or just feel like everything is in chaos and you're confused and things seem out of control. Hopefully, this will help you figure out how to have more confidence and take the next step along your own unique pathway to success. And of course, if you have an antidote that you would like to share, please feel free to put it in the chat as well. Because there are probably people out there, maybe like Bob, who others have been trying to tell them that maybe humor isn't the way to deal with your anxiety. And he just hasn't heard it yet because no one has shared it in a way that he can hear. Just saying as an example. Or when I get anxious about a lacrosse tournament, maybe I'll hear something today that they'll be like, that might be the thing, the antidote to the challenges that I have faced.
Hey, will you indulge me with something, Tom?
Sure.
Can you put that Sculpt Your Business graphic up for a second? Because I do this at the end of the program. I want to do it early today because I don't know that people actually hear this.
Okie dokie, here you go.
All right. Hey, folks, it's your chance to sculpt your business. You can go from chaos and confusion to confidence and control. Tom and I want to help you figure out the business of your dreams, the business you can be proud of, the business that does what you want, the way you want it to be. It's as easy as contacting us. Either contact us directly or go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. You will be amazed at how much you can accomplish when you have confidence and control.
Okay, excellent.
Someone said to me the other day, they were like, I listened to your programming. Those are real. I wish I had heard that earlier. They'd listened for a number of days. They're like, you just started doing that. And I said, no, I've been doing it for like a month. And they're like, oh, wow, you script them because they're all different. I'm like, no, I make them up on the fly. And they're like, okay. So I just figured I'd change it up.
I like that. A little bit of a renegade in you.
That's it. And we're sculpting our business as we help people figure out how to sculpt their business.
Correct. Fascinating. I look at that. All right, though, before we dive into that conversation, each day Bob and I share our celebrations. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating the fact that when you have a network of people in your life, when you need something, like you don't know how to deal with something, you have people that you can ask. And I bought a condo, and the person I bought the condo with, the realtor, is connected in the community, and she knows everyone. And I needed a car repair place. So I texted her last night, hey, do you know of a car repair place? And within 3 minutes, she's like, boom, here's where I go. And I don't think we realize how valuable that can be, that it cuts down the amount of time we have to look for something, the trepidation, because, if you have someone that you trust, then they make a recommendation. Usually things work out, and that can save a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I don't think about how valuable my network is to me until the time when I use it to find something I'm looking for. And with social media, with the ability to text someone, with the ability to phone someone, it's really quick to get access to, what I would say that far better than any other kind of review is when you say to someone, I'm looking for someone who does this. So someone, and they say, oh yeah, Tom does that. He's really good at that. You should talk to Tom.
I like that.
But you might. And also, from the perspective of the person I was talking to, I think she was happy to share a business that she believes in, because that's what sustains business going forward, is recommendations and referrals.
Yes.
So it works in so many ways. It really builds that small business ecosystem in a way that we kind of just assume. I don't think we think enough about it. But that's where having that network of people that you help, and then those people helping you, can be a really powerful tool to saving time and achieving more.
I like the celebration. Thank you for sharing.
How about you?
I am going to celebrate the value of calmness.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
So typically, I was at a lacrosse tournament the last 2 days. And for those who don't know, I assign the officials. So I go out and find them and put them on the games. And so we had 2 full days pretty much of games the last 2 days. And
2 officials per game, right?
Correct. 2 officials per game.
And how many games at a time?
12 times a lot. Well, we had 12 fields going yesterday.
Okay. You say it like, it's cavalier the way you say it, but when you get the magnitude of it, you start to go, oh, this is actually a lot of effort. That's why I was bringing it up.
Yes. Thank you. And over the last 2 days, it was interesting. On Tuesday, I was sitting, because my job, typically, if I've done my job, is I don't have to get on the field. I can just be there to manage any challenges or issues or things that come up. And all afternoon, I was like, it is eerily calm. Like my walkie-talkie isn't going off with a challenge over here. Officials aren't coming over with issues. It was quiet, which is usually the sign. If it starts to get noisy, my ears perk up and I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on over that field? And even yesterday, when we went from sort of pool play, where teams are just playing back and forth, to bracket play, where you're playing down towards a champion, it was the same thing. And there was something about it that was odd. I actually was like, I wonder if they put something in the water that they were giving out that was like a calming mechanism. It was eerily calming, and which helps me, have a lot less anxiety around those 2 days that that things seem to be running as smooth as they can. Now, I'm sure there were issues that I didn't hear about, and typically, if they become big enough, I hear about them one way or another. And so that was my celebrations. The last 2 days, there was actually some calm in the event.
How many times did you check to make sure your walkie-talkie was working?
That was the other interesting thing. Not many, because it was being used for a lot of other things. Like, I'm on the same
because that would have
channel.
been my first thing. Like, oh, the battery's got to be down. There's no way.
Correct. Yeah, no, it was very peaceful, which was nice.
Well, it sort of plays to our topic if you think about it. Normally, we think of anxiety like I've got a million things to do, and this is really important. This is this, and I get all these things. Sorry, cattail on the screen. I've got to do all this stuff, but I also find great anxiety when things are super calm. Like I've said on the program, I have a day where I don't have a lot of stuff scheduled. That's anxiety inducing for me, like yesterday when it was quiet for you. And I think what really is at the core, and in terms of managing it, is we have expectations, right?
Sure.
You have expectations that, you do these events a lot. You know what it's typically going to be like. You know that you're going to get 18 issues that you have to resolve. And then there's a day where it's an anomaly and you don't. You're like, whoa, did I do everything I was supposed to do? Just like, if you're doing a sales call and it's just humming along and the person's like, they read the script and they're answering all the questions, it's almost like, okay, that something's going to go wrong. I can see it, or it's going horribly wrong. And then it's like, okay, this is what I expected anyway. I think we play a really big mind game with ourselves and you've really gotten me to think about this in the last couple of days. It's all about the expectations that we're setting for ourselves, that you went into this event yesterday, it sounds like, expecting it to be a certain way because in the past it's been a certain way. I think our brains are wired to, because fight, flight, or freeze, that we want to be able to assess the situation as quickly as possible. So we gather available information. Okay, I've done this 43 times in the last 2 years. It's been a mess 42 of those times. Today's the outlier. Rather than go, hey, maybe I figured this out. Maybe I'm really good at what I do. We go the other route. Oh, is my walkie-talkie working? Are they hiding from me? Do they not like me anymore? I mean, I can go through the whole litany of things. Do they not respect me? Did they forget the chain of command? And we do such a great job, I think, mentally, of coming up with all the bad excuses for why something is actually working. And I think your example, I actually have more anxiety when things go the way I kind of expected than when they don't. I'm programmed to think they're going to fail. So when they fail, it's like, yep, told you. I warned myself. No surprise there. Versus what if I were ultimately optimistic each day and be like, hey, you know what? We're doing the program today. Tom's not going to have technology issues. It's a great day. We haven't seen each other in a couple of days. Let's go. Versus I came into this like, oh my God, we're running late. I feel bad about that. We're having some trouble with the graphics. I'm not really sure what the topic is. So I pre-programmed myself into the world of anxiety and almost self-fulfilling.
Sure.
And I think that's why you hear people doing meditation and affirmations and all the other things that you can do to get yourself in a place where you're not pre-programming yourself to say, you know what, this is going to be a mess.
And I think what's interesting is, and I'm sure I'll take some heat about this.
Uh-oh.
I think all of those things you're trying to control it. Right? Like, why would you do meditation? Is so that you can control your mind. You try to free your mind, is one of the reasons, I guess. And to find calmness, you try to free your mind that these things won't happen. and you feel like, oh, okay, if my mind is free, I won't be anxious. The challenge with that, I think, is that we don't control all the things around us. So that if I can sit and be in a meditative state, all right, and I can get myself to a place of calm. If a fire alarm goes off in the office after that, and I was supposed to be on a Zoom call, everything I just did to get to that state likely isn't going to help me avoid anxiety.
Can I give you a different perspective on meditation?
Sure.
So when I meditate, and I've done it on and off for months here and months there, it kind of comes and goes. I'm not trying to control the circumstances. I'm not trying to control my mind as much as just be open. I think ultimately meditating is calming myself and almost in some ways divorcing myself from those outcomes. When being really calm in the sense that, hey, you know what, whatever's going to happen, I can manage. That's kind of where I'm trying to get when I meditate. I don't know that it's control. If anything, I think when I meditate, I'm accepting that there's even less control.
Okay. And so and how long can you stay in that state?
Well, I don't know that it's a state as much as a mindset.
Okay.
So to me, when I meditate, I'm trying to, it's hard to put words around this. I'm really trying to calm my mind.
Yes.
So I'm trying not to think. That's how that's not really possible, but it's let's come back to my breathing. Let's come back to my breathing with the logic that if I can come back to my breathing when I'm doing my meditation, if you and I get into an argument, I can come back to my breathing, step away, and in some ways realize it's like, okay, I can't control that Tom's in a bad mood this morning. I can't control that the graphics are messed up. Okay, what can I do in this situation? Okay, I can make it worse. Tom, fix the graphics. You have one job to do every morning, fix the damn graphics. What is your problem? I could go that route, or I could go, hey, is there something I can do? Or I can just peacefully be like, okay, it's all good. And I think meditation for me allows me to see those options more clearly. It's not so much control. I would actually argue it's really acceptance of there's a lot of stuff out there. And the only thing I can really control ultimately is, I hate to say it, but how I breathe. And if I can calm my breathing, I'm getting more air, which means I can make different decisions in the moment. That's how I see the meditation.
Sure. So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How come you still feel like you have so much anxiety?
Because that meditation practice it's hard for me. And I was talking to someone yesterday who was telling me they journal.
Okay.
And they said, I journal every morning for like 45 minutes. And I have all this anxiety and I pour it out on the pages. And I said, oh, that must be fascinating to read. She's like, oh, I never read it. No one's ever read it. That's her way of getting past that anxiety, she said. And once I put it out on the paper, and she's like, I scribble, I draw, I cross out, I do. Something's calming to me about that. And then I know for me, another way I've calmed myself from the anxiety is to go running in the morning. If I run in the morning and get that exercise in, I process things in my head differently and I'm calmer. I know another person who their way to avoid anxiety is to actually have breakfast. As crazy as that is. Like if I have breakfast and sit and eat something, I'm not hungry all morning and I'm calmer.
So it's like just having a Snickers bar?
If that's what it takes. I mean, I think the reality is that everyone has anxiety when they start the day over something. I don't know of anyone I've talked to, maybe you'd be the only person I can imagine, but I've got to believe that most days there's something you're anxious about. Because if you weren't anxious over something, that would mean that you have everything figured out. And if you have everything figured out, why are you doing what you're doing? You're not really challenging yourself, right? Oh, I got it all figured out. I'm hanging out. This is so easy.
Well, here's another thought around that.
Mm-hmm.
Or It's I know I have nothing figured out because I can't control it. And I
Okay,
think,
I'd
and
like
I,
to get to that one. We're gonna have
well,
to. That should be our new motto. I have nothing figured out, and I can't control it.
but isn't that?
Throw that sculpture business graphic up. I got a new one for that.
Well, here's the thing, though. If I don't set expectations, or I try not to set expectations, if I don't have, um, if I don't feel like I've figured everything out, I can go in and be like, okay, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I can't control that.
Mhm. Right.
So here's an example. So yesterday we were, and again, remember my day was calm. Like there was no, I felt like we're humming along, whatever. So the last in this event, because there's championship and they use a scoreboard and whatever, I run the scoreboard. So I'm
Okay.
sitting at the table and get to see all the sideline potential chaos. So the head of the tournament came over and was, they were getting ready for the final game. And they were like, okay, buckle up. It's going to get crazy because the two coaches have a tendency to get a little bit out of control. And I had a momentary thought like, all right. But then I was like, I can't control it. All I can do is when it happens, if it happens, figure out how to deal with it. And for me, I figure out how to deal with it based on how have I tried to deal with things in the past. So I went back to I said, okay, I have some knowledge, experience, and perspective around what's going to happen. I have no idea what it's going to be. And I don't think I've figured out how to deal with them because I haven't had to deal with them yet. I've had to deal with other coaches in other situations. And so, like, I wasn't that worried about it. It didn't give me a whole lot of anxiety. I kind of laughed at it and be like, all right, we'll see what happens. And nothing happened. I mean, it was, again, it was a close game with, again, two potentially contentious coaches. And I wasn't that anxious about it at all. And so I wonder if like, to me, that's that part of, because we think we have to figure it out, or we have figured it out, or I guess, as sort of you shared, that you're never going to be able to figure it out.
Or we think everyone else has figured it out and we should figure it out. Right.
And so that gives us anxiety that why aren't we able to do this in a way that others have done it? Or why have we looked at what we've done in the past and we've judged it as not having gone well, or whatever the case might be, rather than just saying, okay, kind of like bring it on. Like, it's an interesting challenge for me. I'm not going to be nervous about it. I'm just going to be aware and call upon my knowledge, experience, and perspective to figure out how to leverage it. And then I think because I've gotten okay at saying, I'm not going to judge what just happened. I'm going to try to learn from it. And so I think I find myself having less anxiety. I don't know. Does that make any sense or no?
No, that makes sense. I think that's one approach. I think for me, is that your one thing, by the way?
I don't know.
Okay. Because I think for me, one of the things I've really come to in the last couple months, talking to a lot of business owners and leaders, is everyone has anxiety. I used to think that I was like one of those crazy people that actually worried about what I was doing each day. What I find is almost everyone I talk to has anxiety over something. Where I see the people being more advancing more quickly is when they found strategies to manage it. So somehow yesterday you figured out how to get over the fact that, wow, this is a quiet day, and I guess a quiet day is possible. Who knew? I bet for a little while there was what isn't going on here? Something's got to be off. And I think like I said earlier, it's so much in our head that we don't want it to work the way we intend it to, because if it does, it almost is like, well, I'm not needed. Like yesterday, I'm sure there was a point where like, why am I even here? I'm sitting there, there's no call for me, there's nothing. I could be off doing something else. Versus what you might have said, which is, wow, maybe I figured this thing out. This is really great. I'm going to enjoy the quiet day.
Yes. And I think knowing that results change over time, I think the challenge is sometimes we think we have figured it out. And so we do that thing that we think maybe we could do. So if I was just like, guess I figured this out, I don't need to show up anymore. I'll just sign and walk away and do whatever and not feel the need to be on site. And while sometimes you can do that, smaller.
I'll be right back. I got someone at my door.
What? I wonder if it's somebody he's invited to the show. This interesting pause. Maybe he ordered something on Prime Day and it's being delivered. I wonder what he ordered. This is kind of like a fascinating thing to figure out what is. I'm not anxious about it. Curious about what Bob has coming up. And I'm not even that anxious about the fact that I'm not really talking about the topic. It's just, oh, he's back. Did you order something on Prime Day?
I did.
What did you, can you share what you ordered?
It's not one thing.
Well, you already gave your one thing, so you can tell us about more things.
So I did a little shopping because a couple weeks ago, I got a survey request to do a survey for QuickBooks. And in return for doing the survey, they gave a $200 Amazon gift card.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry, $250. I was like, okay, I can do that. Took me 25 minutes, I think.
Why didn't I get that?
Okay, so I get that, and I've got this gift card, and I'm looking at the Prime Day stuff, and I'm like, oh, I really want a Roomba. I bought a knockoff version. It didn't really work well, and I'm like, I really want a Roomba. And, oh man, they're really inexpensive today. I really should get one, but I really don't have the money set aside for this. And I'm like, wait, I have this gift card. So I bought a Roomba. What was the other thing I bought? An Echo Dot, a new updated one that does smart stuff. And there's this is how bad it is. I don't remember the third thing I bought. There was something else that's coming tomorrow. Here,
you ordered it the last 2 days.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure it's something I needed. Let me. I bet there's someone out there going,
without it.
I know exactly what he's going through. Isn't that?
Don't get anxious trying to figure it out.
Oh, I remember what it is. It's a TV. So I have a TV in my bedroom that is really small. It's like 14 inches or something. Mm-hmm. And it just isn't serving the purpose that it needs to serve. It's just real hard to see from the bed. So I opted to get a 32-inch TV, and Amazon was kind enough to drop the price to $99 from $279.
Nice.
Yes.
Wow, that's a good savings on Prime Day. You got a lot with that.
I did. I saved as much as I spent. And after I used my $250 gift card, I only had like $40 more to pay. So I feel like it was a win.
Absolutely.
And that's what we call justification. Next week, we'll be talking about how does someone justify their expenses?
That's fair.
And what I didn't tell you while I went to get the door was that I walked in some cat vomit.
Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that value that you shared.
It's actually on my foot right now.
So maybe that's a good time to. So you have your one thing.
My one thing is Prime Day's over. It comes next July. Okay. Try to get a $250 gift card because it makes it a lot more fun.
And my one thing I think is going to be, and I just thought of this as I was staring at the title of our show, is I'm not sure you can manage anxiety. Ooh. I think you can manage how you look at things going forward and how you look at things in the moment. And that if you can get your mind to a place that I don't control hardly anything, and I have a lot of experience, whatever it is, and knowledge and an interesting perspective or unique perspective that would allow me to try to deal with it when whatever happens, that maybe we can avoid the anxiety of the unknown, or even the past known that we might be expecting because of the expected or anticipated results. I think that when we can start to avoid some of those things, we have less anxiety. I think. Now, the challenge is it's going to be unique for all of us because we all have unique knowledge, experience, and perspective. And so trying to figure out, which I think is the challenge, how to draw that out in you can be really difficult. So I think that's my one thing.
I like that.
Maybe don't try to manage it. Try to just understand what brings it on and why you might say, why am I having expected results? I don't know how it's going to turn out. And then just move forward.
That's really profound. That's like a hit the 10-second go back button so you can listen to it again.
Thanks. All right, everyone. If you have your one thing, please feel free to share it in the comments because we know that it'll add value to the show. Although I'm not quite sure Bob sharing that he stepped in cat vomit added a whole lot of value. And it was a comment. Okay, we can take that. Please feel free to share it. If you happen to be listening to the podcast and there unfortunately is no place for you to comment, please go to our Sculpt Your Business from Chaos and Confusion to Confidence and Control Facebook group and you can share it there. While you're there, kind of like Bob in his shopping the other day, he found a TV that he could, afford with his gift card. You might find that thing that helps you figure out how to have more confidence and control. So we look forward to seeing you inside that group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time.
Are we
hopefully.
sure about tomorrow?
Well, we'll see. Don't be anxious about it. It may or may not happen.
That's it.
And if not, then we'll see you inside the group or tomorrow or Monday, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time for our next episode of today's Antidote.
Hey, embrace the renegading you, no matter what. If you see us tomorrow or not, you can embrace the renegading you all weekend without us telling you that again. Every day, all day.
Excellent. All right, everyone, go out and enjoy your day. We will see you soon.
Hey, I already talked about this, so Tom, just keep advancing to the next slide.